Welcome to Rome, though it probably needs no introduction. This beautiful old lady of architecture in front of us is the Pantheon. The original was built at about 27 BCE. However, the version we're looking at right now is actually the fourth. And it's been standing here since 126 AD. Last several were destroyed in fires. So this one definitely has the best track record. But over the last 2,000 years, as the city has literally grown up around it, it's watched the birth and fall of great empires, the creation of religions, change of art, architecture, politics, culture, and has remained a part of daily Roman life as the oldest building in continual use in Rome. Not bad. Now, I want you to see how much I wasn't kidding when I said that the city literally grew up around her. Yeah, that wasn't metaphysical or psychologically or even evolutionarily. It's believed that over the past 2,000 years, nearly an inch of detritus has built up in Rome every year. So when this final version was finished by Hadrian in about 126 AD, he climbed steps to get up to it. Now it looks like it's in a pit. Yeah. So Hadrian's version, of course, was finished in 126 AD. But when Agrippa built the first one during Augustus's reign, way back in 27 BCE, we were pretty much in the middle of nowhere. This was very far removed from the city. In fact, this was outside. It was beyond the wall. It was rural. It was farmland. And actually, it was where the army trained because it was just empty space. But after Agrippa's was destroyed in 80 AD, and then Domitian's Pantheon was destroyed in 1010 AD, when Apollodorus Damascus had been hired by Trajan to build this one, by that time this area had become kind of posh and all the cool people wanted to build their personal temples here. This is the portico area just in front of the main entrance into the Pantheon, and these are her famous columns that don't really look like most of the other columns you might see around Rome, and well, that's because they're not technically from around here. They were actually quarried in eastern Egypt, then dragged on sledges all the way to the Nile, that they had to then wait until it was in a flood season, load on barges, drag it all the way up that, put it on ships that then had to be rowed across the Mediterranean, wait until the Tiber was also flooding, load them on barges there, drag them up that, and they then had to be carted across the city of Rome here. Now, I want you to imagine two fully loaded 18-wheeler trucks filled to capacity, then crunch them down into something that's only about 5 feet across and 39 feet long, because that's what each of these 16 columns weigh. 60 tons. And they did all of this nearly 2 millennia ago. Crazy. It's estimated about 3.5 million people walk through her doors every year. They're 21 feet high and weigh 8 tons each. Damn. The most famous facet of the Pantheon's design is the dome, but the dome's most fascinating feature is the hole at the top, which is called the oculus, and the opening is 27 feet across. Now, this dome, unlike many other famous domes, forms a complete sphere, meaning the height from the oculus to the ground is identically symmetrical to the diameter of the center circle, or the ring of the drum where the dome connects to the rest of the building. It's about 142 feet, or 43.3 meters, from the floor to the oculus, and 142 feet, or 43.3 meters, from the rim to the rim. A perfect ball could sit inside this dome, snug as a bug. For the first 13 centuries of its existence, it was the largest dome in the world, period. But it remains, even to this day, to be the largest unreinforced concrete dome. When the Pantheon was built, concrete was a miraculous new discovery for the Roman Empire. It allowed them to build and create structures previously impossible or nearly unimaginable before the technology had been unlocked. However, the recipe was all but lost and forgotten, in Europe anyway, for about 800 years, from about the early 500s AD until almost the 1300s. I think it was a recipe for concrete. Now, we all know fame, favor, and fortune wane, here today, gone tomorrow, etc. You get the gist. So first there was the Greek phase, then the Roman empirical thing happened, but at the time when Rome was going out of style was also when the Byzantines and Constantinople were the new black of empirical power in Europe. Rome and her people might have converted to Christianity before they fully fizzled out, but for the first 1,000 years or so of Christianity's existence, the big chair was actually nowhere near Rome. Whoever was emperor in Constantinople was kind of the big kahuna, not really the Pope so much. What would become what we call today the Eastern Orthodox Church and their patriarch seriously outranked anyone over here in Rome, which is why Pope Boniface IV had to ask Byzantine Emperor Phocas to grant him the Pantheon so he could convert it into a church. And he got it from him in 609 and rechristened it to St. Mary and all the martyrs. However, this only further secured any Byzantine emperor's right to it and all of its treasures, or any even remotely valuable part of the Pantheon at all. And in 663, the Emperor Constans II visited Rome for only 12 days, but he stripped all of the gilded bronze roof tiles from the Pantheon and shipped them back to his family's personal palace outside of Constantinople. But then the winds shifted yet again, and the Turks began invading Byzantium, who called on their previously politically weaker allies of the Roman Catholic Church for help. Thus began the Crusades, which the Roman Catholic Church used to leverage power back away from Constantinople, as they had something the Eastern Church was in need of. Pretty much everything. Money, ships, food, armies, secured legitimacy of power, yada yada yada. Constantinople fell, became Istanbul. Rome and her church were top of the heap again, Christianity-wise, and the Pantheon would both gain and lose from that fallout. In 1625, almost 950 years after Emperor Constans II stole the roof tiles, Pope Urban VIII of the influential Barberini family stripped the Pantheon of nearly all its then remaining bronze fixtures. He commissioned Gian Lorenzo Bernini, the renowned artist, to build the baldacchino with the material, creating the 95-foot-tall altar in St. Peter's. With what remained, Urban VIII forged nearly 80 cannons to be mounted for the defense of Castle Sant'Angelo. This gave way to the phrase, "What the barbarians didn't destroy, the Barberini did." Urban VIII also torn down the campanile to cannibalize its materials, replacing them with a set of twin bell towers, which developed the nickname the Ass's Ears. They were wrongly accredited to Bernini as his work, and were later torn down in the early 19th century. When the famous painter Raphael died in 1520, he was immediately buried at the Pantheon, along with the remains of his fiancée, who died before they could be married. In 1833, Pope Gregory XVI, a great admirer of Raphael's, had claimed to doubt that the artist's remains were actually buried in his tomb, and so had him disinterred just to check. And yeah, he was really in there. His remains were reburied in an ancient sarcophagus gifted to the deceased by the same pope who dug him up. The inscription by Bembo reads, "Here lies Raphael, by whom nature feared to be outdone while he lived, and when he died, feared she herself would die as well." Also buried at the Pantheon is Victor Emmanuel II, who was the first king of Italy after its unification in 1870, and his son, Umberto I, who was the second king. And yeah, it's kind of confusing. Emmanuel II is the first king, Umberto I is the second king, along with his wife, Marguerite of Savoy, who might have been Umberto the first cousin. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got. Bye, guys.